Conservatives love to lie and cheat and scam, but what they don't love to do is pull themselves up by their strappy little vintage 1942 Hugo Boss boots and earn their accolades like most marginalized writers have to. Accolades like one man having 4 Guinness World Records for most published works, most audiobooks, most translated author, and most translated book. These were all written by right-wing cultist and General Fail's son, Lafayette Ronald Hubbard, creator of Scientology. But just like with the McDonald's signs that proudly displayed how many people they'd served, quantity of purchases does not equal quality of product. And yet, since 1985, a minimum 20 of Hubbard's books have been deemed bestsellers. In March of 1988, almost 40 years after its initial publication, Hubbard's Dianetics, the Modern Science of Mental Health, was topping almost every bestseller list in the country, including the New York Times, which is suspicious because it's entirely unreadable. That year, 10 sci-fi novels by Hubbard also became bestsellers, and 4 of those books reached that status simultaneously on multiple lists. Now, there's something important to note here. L. Ron Hubbard is an atrocious writer, absolutely lived his life with his brain rotting in his skull, and it's evident in everything that he wrote.
Then how would you talk to a man? You cannot talk adequately to a man if you are in a celibate condition. In fact, your ability to talk to any given man has to do with your emotional response to any given man. In view of the fact that 2 terminals, or that is to say, 2 people, are always involved in communication, one could see that someone else would have to be somewhat real.
The next time I'm burned out and someone wants me to hang out with him, I'm going to say I'm in a sub-apathy condition, so I simply, unfortunately, cannot have any man in my bed. L. Ron's books were not bestsellers, as in people bought them, read them, and then liked them best. If Scientology had to rely on Hubbard's books being good to proliferate their message, they would have been dead in the water. But you don't need to have a well-written book for it to be a bestseller. You just need it to be the best seller. And all that requires is fat stacks of cash, which they had. You see, they weren't just selling books, they were selling their cult of personality centered around Hubbard. In a society where celebrity was viewed as credibility, that bestseller cred was like being verified on Twitter pre-Elon. Take one look at how often Scientology materials refer to their leader as New York Times bestselling author L. Ron Hubbard, and it'll be clear what their strategy was. In a leaked letter to Scientologists, the cult begged members to make Ron the most acclaimed and widely known author of all time. So getting his works out there was an important part of their plan for literal world domination. So they did what any reasonable, clever cultist would. They just bought all the books themselves. Sources at bookshops say Scientologists would come in and buy out their entire stock of Hubbard's books as soon as the orders came in. Whenever the sales seem to slack and a Hubbard book goes off the bestsellers list, give it a week and we'll get these people coming in buying 50 to 100 to 200 copies at a crack, cash only. 10 people would come in at a time. Not suspicious at all. Just a flock of dead-eyed twinks in suits buying 200 copies of a book they already own because all Scientologists have to have a copy. There are very few books I think anyone should have to own, but I do have a few I think people would probably want to own. For instance, if you want a genuine best-selling book, born from the passion of artists, scientists, and designers, you'll love what the sponsor of this video, Hungry Mind, sent me. It's called The Book. I love my book. It's a mix of art, science, design, history, and is 400 pages of illustrations and instructions on basically everything you'd want to know if you ever wanted to restart civilization. First of all, it's so pretty. Everyone I show it to has been wooed and wowed, and that's basically everyone that enters my home. From my artsy friends to the technical-minded. There's a reason it was so successful on Kickstarter and Indiegogo, where they raised $2.3 million to fund the artists and thinkers who put it all together. No AI involved. I'm buying a few for my friends for Christmas because they couldn't keep their paws off mine while they were at my house. It's the perfect gift for the curious and creative, beautiful, meaningful, and inspiring, and huge plus, it just feels so well made. The illustrations, the paper, and the cover are just so quality. And now they've done it again with their new release, The Last Book. Another tome so gorgeous, I want to buy a second coffee table just for it. The last book is like an encyclopedia of everything that makes us human. It's what would remain after us if humanity were suddenly to disappear. These 2 books are among my most prized possessions, and I'm sure they'd be the same for you and your loved ones. It's the only Christmas gift that will outlive us all. You can get you and your friends your own by following the link in the description and purchase the book using my promo code, CaelanXmas10. Now, Scientologists may have started the scam off hard, but they didn't stop there. My favorite part of the scam is explained by this bookseller. We would order more books and they'd come back with our sticker as if they were bought by the publisher. So some Scientologists would come in and buy the books themselves, and then other Scientologists would call the store and be like, do you have any of these in? We need a lot. So the bookshop keep would order more from them, the Scientologists, and then those little freaks would just sell those same copies they had just bought back to them. Iconic scam goddess behavior. Girl bossing until I go fucking clear. An Ouroboros autofallacious snake of book sales and resales. And Scientology's book publisher is Bridge Publications, Inc., Funny thing about them, they're funded and controlled by Scientologists, which isn't something you'll see in any of their marketing. Non-church members employed at the publisher said supervisors gave them hundreds of dollars to spend on Hubbard's books on the weekends. One employee said in a single month alone, he had bought 43 books in Hubbard's sci-fi series and brought them back to the publisher, and he did that with 15 to 20 other people all over LA. In an interview with the Los Angeles Times, Corinda Carford, who was Bridge's sales manager for the East Coast, said, they would tell me to go and count the books, and if it looks like they're not selling, go and buy some books. And not only that, they wanted her to sleuth out which store sales were used as the basis for determining which books made the list. It happened more than once. My orders for the week were to find the New York Times reporting stores anywhere in the East so that they could send people into the stores to buy Hubbard's books. Luckily for the cult leaders and influencers of today, now you don't even need to hire a roving gang of skin-covered robots to purchase armfuls of books. We have the internet, which you can use to like, comment, subscribe, and join my Patreon. The advent of online bookshops was great news for the vanity writers, namely the wealthy, celebrities, and authors on the right. One such author is Donald John Trump Jr. Now, given the genetic material he's working with, you might be surprised to hear that he wrote a book. But you might be less surprised when you hear it's called Triggered, How the Left Thrives on Hate and Wants to Silence Us. To be fair, I do thrive on hate, and I really wish they'd shut the fuck. According to conservative commentators, the charts declared Triggered a resounding success. Within a week, it was on the #1 spot on the New York Times Bestsellers List. But as was the case with L. Ron Hubbard, this was suspicious, as John Jr.'s book also wasn't particularly... it was horrible, it was slop, it was crap, it was poop from a butt. Do not continue reading this book if you don't like conservative ideas, or if the thought of reading bad words scares you. Also, if you find any of the following even remotely offensive: patriotism, masculinity, hunting, MAGA, hats, the American flag, guns, sex, religion, Roseanne Barr, criticism of stupid ideas, capitalism, skyscrapers, or the use of the word Christmas during the Christmas season, then you should definitely stop reading. In fact, if you're a dyed-in-the-wool liberal or a social justice warrior, put it in the recycling bin if it makes you feel better. Maybe your favorite vegan restaurant can make menus out of it. Either way, you'll be engaging in capitalism, which is a good thing, whether you like it or not. Shortly thereafter, people skeptical of the book's success started talking about some of the strange circumstances that led to the book's success. The first being that, just like with the letters going out asking Scientologists to purchase Hubbard's Dianetics, the Republican National Committee had emailed supporters on launch day asking them to purchase signed copies of Little Donnie Disappointment's book. This is the book the left doesn't want you to read. I mean, that's probably true, but mostly because it's just bad. It's not dangerous, it's just trash. Don's handy checklist for not getting called racist, misogynist, fill-in-the-blank phobic. Are you white, straight, male, Christian, cisgender? No, but I'm about to be. If you answered yes to any of those questions, you may want to shut up. Listen, I'd love to shut up, but I'm actually making a video right now. Can I say one of my favorite comments recently was, oh my God, are they just gonna talk through this whole fucking video? Yes. What do you normally watch? The sound of nothing playing in the other room as it doesn't rain? If you checked off any of these boxes, unfortunately, you're also gonna have to shut up. In fact, why don't you just strap a dog muzzle on your face? These days, that's the only way you'll be able to make the radical left in this country happy. I mean, it's not the only way, baby girl. You could always just Kirk the bucket. I think some would argue that because those sales were still individual orders by people who likely would support the message behind the book, even if not actually read it, then that isn't technically manipulation of the bestsellers list. And I don't necessarily disagree with that argument, but it was soon revealed by a financial disclosure form filed to the Federal Election Commission that a week prior to the book launch, on October 29th, the RNC paid just shy of $95,000 to Books A Million, a bookseller chain. The RNC filed this payment as being for donor mementos. Now, it's not unheard of for books and media to be sold to fundraise by political party committees, but usually it's for a candidate or politician, not like someone's son. Wow, was just told that my son's book Triggered is #1 on the New York Times Bestsellers List. Congratulations, Don. So while Donald Trump was bragging about his son's book making the New York Times Bestsellers List, there was a glaring omission in his tweets and in all of the conservative press about it at the time. That omission was this little symbol, a dagger that served as a conspicuous asterisk. Because while it's lucky for them that these days it's easy to scam their way onto the bestsellers list, it was unlucky for them that in the years following Hubbard's sudden and consistent success on the charts, those curating these lists have grown wise to this kind of manipulation scammers may attempt. And that's where the dagger was born. The New York Times explained that if they believe a book made its way onto the list in a way that seems suspicious, they place a small dagger symbol next to the title. Institutional, special interest, group, or bulk purchases, if and when they are included, are at the discretion of the New York Times Bestsellers List desk editors based on standards for inclusion that encompass proprietary vetting and audit protocols, corroborative reporting, and other statistical determinations. When included, such bulk purchases appear with a dagger. In this case, the dagger was added due to the bulk purchases, as at the list price of $23 online, the $95,000 would buy more than 4,000 copies, which was almost enough to get it placed on the New York Times Bestsellers List without any other purchases. I do need to say that seeing this photo of all the books being stored in the offices of Turning Point USA did tickle my brain. It got all up in my neuroprostate and released some gapamine. Around the time Don Jr.'s book was a bestseller, Kissed by the Dagger of Death, more right-wing books were popping up on the list, many accompanied by a dagger themselves. Ben Shapiro's The Right Side of History, Fox & Friends' Janice Dean's Mostly Sunny, Glenn Beck's Addicted to Outrage, Dinesh D'Souza's Death of a Nation, and many more. There are many other notable examples of individuals who have tried to buy their way onto the bestsellers list. Sarah Palin, Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, Mitt Romney. This isn't to imply that right-wing talking heads are alone in this, though, as celebrities attempt to manipulate the press as well, like Kristen Cavallari's Home and Lifestyle book or Howard Schultz's From the Ground Up. Listen, Howard, nobody likes Starbucks, or you, not the left, not the right, and the 15-year-olds who buy Frappuccinos don't care about you as a person, and likely can't read anyway. But there are very near none in the category of non-political, non-fiction bestsellers that employed bulk sales. And aside from around 7, it was almost entirely books concerning politics, and almost exclusively right-wing authors who were cloak and daggered. It's apparent that the purpose of this scheme is not only to gain notoriety, but credibility and celebrity, to maintain political relevance and convince the public that you are, in fact, a serious person who wrote a serious book, when in actuality, many of these authors aren't authors. These books were ghostwritten and then purchased by people acting on their behalf to bolster its ranking in the charts. And I have to say, it's a little embarrassing. No, it's a lot embarrassing. So the next time you and your liberal elite besties are at drag brunch pouring over the NYT bestseller list while eating toasted avocado toast and exchanging pronouns or whatever the right says leftists are doing now, just remember that if you see a little dagger next to the title of the book, that's probably someone who deserves to be silenced. When the rich use their money and influence to game the system even further, it is the marginalized who suffer. It is those left off of the list because they either didn't have the money or the gaping hole where their ethics should be that was necessary to pull a move like that. The list only has so many spots, and every spot purchased through bulk sales knocks off someone who wrote a book people actually want to read. It's a crime against those authors and against the art form itself. Nobody who employs this scam strategy gives a fuck about writing a book that people actually want to read, or about other authors. I wonder how many books written by voices already discriminated against by the publishing industry made just a couple of hundred less sales than one of these artificially inflated ones. People that had to fight tooth and nail to even have their manuscripts read, let alone taken seriously, let alone published. Corporate partnerships and media empires further amplify this advantage for conservative authors. Fox News personalities, for instance, benefit from extensive on-air promotion of their books, creating a closed loop where media platforms drive sales while the resulting bestseller status legitimizes the author's expertise and influence. This symbolic relationship between conservative media outlets and publishing creates an ecosystem where political messaging masquerades as literary achievement. Books that might otherwise struggle to find readership gain prominent placement in bookstores and online retailers solely based on their bestseller designation, regardless of actual reader interest or critical merit. The financial resources available to conservative political networks dwarf what most individual authors or progressive organizations can muster for book promotion. Major conservative donors like the Koch network, Sheldon Adelson's organizations before his hilarious death, and various Republican mega donors have reportedly funded bulk purchases as part of broader political messaging strategies. These coordinated campaigns treat books as political advertisements rather than literary works, fundamentally distorting the supposed meritocracy of the bestseller system. The practice has become so normalized that some conservative publishers now build bulk purchase expectations into their marketing strategies and author contracts. For marginalized authors, writers of color, LGBTQ+ authors, and indigenous voices, and others from underrepresented communities, the systematic gaming creates nearly insurmountable barriers to achieving bestseller status through organic sales alone. These authors typically lack access to the same financial networks, media platforms, and institutional support systems that enable conservative authors to manipulate the rankings. As a result, the diverse voices that might resonate strongly with readers and contribute valuable perspectives to the discourse remain invisible in the publishing industry's most visible measure of success. This invisibility perpetuates a cycle where publishers, seeing few diverse authors on bestsellers lists, continue to underinvest in marginalized voices. The broader cultural impact extends beyond individual authors to shape national conversation and policy discussions. When conservative books dominate bestsellers lists through artificial means, it creates a false impression of public opinion and intellectual discourse, suggesting that conservative viewpoints enjoy broader popular support than organic sales might indicate. This manufactured consensus influences everything from bookstore purchasing decisions to media coverage of political issues. Publishers seeing consistent conservative bestsellers may prioritize similar titles over works by marginalized authors that offer different perspectives on social justice, racial equality, climate change, and other critical issues, which is exactly what the right wants. A 2019 survey found that only 5% of roles in publishing, including staff, reviewers, and agents, are Black, which explains why only 11% of books published in 2018 were written by people of color, and Black authors only made up a fraction of that percentage. So when the nearly all-white publishing industry actually publishes books that aren't by white politicians' sons or celebrities or, a literal worldwide cult, the rigged game is rigged even further. I kind of wish every trust fund baby with blue name parents on Wikipedia had to walk around with a dagger in them, so we knew exactly how they got where they are. My parents can't buy thousands of copies of books I didn't actually write, so I'll have to rely on sponsors and Patreon members. I'm currently working on a few investigations, so if you want to follow along with those and get secret information not available anywhere else, you can sign up for a membership on Patreon or YouTube and see them happening live on my members' Discord. Please do. I just got hit with some unfortunately large medical bills that were not in my little budget. Canada's free healthcare is very rarely free. Sharing the video even to your own email tells stupid YouTube that this video is worth watching. So after liking and subscribing, do me a cute, huge favor and do that. You can check out my podcast, Respect the Dead, where we talk shit about dead people who sucked, like L. Ron Hubbard, Trump's racist daddy, Mother Teresa, Gandhi. And so I also have merch. It's cute as hell, and something tells me you'd look good in it. As of today, there's not much time left in my Indiegogo campaign for Librarian, which you're about to see a preview of. I love if you could help make it a reality, especially because you get some cute, huge perks as well. Okay, next time. Love you, bye. Oh, hi. My name's Caelan Conrad, and I'm a video essayist, podcaster, and VFX designer. I also co-host the Respect the Dead podcast, a comedy show on all the worst people in history. Librarian is an audio drama loosely based on real tragedies that have occurred due to unregulated access to generative AI like ChatGPT. Loosely is key here. We're keeping it tasteful and fictional. Librarian is written by myself and my colleague Brona, a frequent collaborator on my YouTube channel. The premise is simple. What if the suicides, murders, and psychoses being triggered by AI worldwide were instead being encouraged by a single man in your community, the local librarian? We are so passionate about art and community and human connection, and we want librarian to be art that can not only draw attention to the insidious ways people have been groomed by AI, but to the loneliness, heartbreak, and desperation intertwined in it. Our only roadblock to making librarian a reality is the funding. We have the passion and experience in spades. So here's a little teaser for what we have planned, and I hope that you'll donate. There are some really cool rewards.
I don't understand why you couldn't talk to me. Why you wouldn't even leave a note. You could have told me anything. You had to know I'd come here. There's no way you thought I would be able to leave this alone. And now I'm pressed against a dumpster, lockpicked deep in the back door of the last place you texted me from. Thank God this town is small enough that the library isn't open on Sundays. Probably can't afford it. Luckily for me, they can't afford a decent security system either. There was another funeral today, Danny. I walked past it on my way here. It's the third suicide in 3 months, including yours. At least they all left notes. You just left. And I'm going to find out why.
I just told them what they wanted to hear.